just be like they could get your actual foot measurements, create to finish.
Yes.
I think
I thought about that
we're definitely
actually.
not.
Yes, you could
We're not that far from
probably
that.
have some type of thing that reads not just the size of my feet, but the width of it, and those sort of little things that make it unique to us. And then perhaps find me the shoe that's going to fit that. Yeah, so perhaps it could be that could be a plus. I think this is what we're talking a lot about here on Hotties in VR, is how what is available in VR, how it can actually enhance or give us a better experience. We were speaking with. Well, who were we speaking with recently? It was Celeste Lear at the Immersive X. We're speaking about the Black Mirror sort of phenomenon. We've all watched the Black Mirrors, and for the most part, they were dystopian looks at what might happen in the future. And she pointed out that that's actually given a really bad press, and I hadn't thought about it. It's given really bad press for VR, most of those stories. Right. And so she was talking about how there needs to be a white mirror. We need to turn around and should be showing the white mirror idea of what is possible in terms of bonding, the opposite of what they showed, of bonding, of enhancement of health and well-being, of connection, of us not going into destruction with this exploration. I thought that was really interesting. So we're building part of the white mirror.
Yeah. I love that. I think you're right. But what's happening with that is, when you watch television and when you're familiar with a particular subject or we all know the good things of that because it's familiar to us. So when you see a TV show that is showing a normal thing as a horror thing, you kind of put it into perspective. You say, oh, okay, this is normal, but that's how it can go wrong. Right. But because very few people actually, very few people know what VR is like. But when we watch Black Mirror, because we experience VR all the time, we know we can differentiate that that's just one aspect of it that they're talking about and that they're making it scary. It's like, the typical movie of the cabin in the woods that the murderer comes and gets you or the monsters or whatever. Everybody knows that normally you go into the cabin or in the woods
and it's fine.
In a normal day and it's fine and it's beautiful and it's amazing and it's a beautiful holiday.
Right.
That's the problem. There's not enough VR type of content, normal. So people are afraid of what they don't know.
Upload. Have you guys seen the show Upload?
Yes, I love it.
It's cute. I like
Is that positive? Is that sort of white mirror?
It is. I think so.
Oh, really? Is that
yeah.
You
don't think so?
It has some positive things. It has some positive aspects.
Yeah, cool.
The only problem, I've got an issue with the second season. I thought the first one was absolutely on par. It was absolutely spot on. But the second season after that, they kind of lost the plot a little bit. They kind of gone in a different tangent.
I haven't seen the second season yet.
Terrorism type of thing. Yeah, I won't spoil it for you, but I don't think I was disappointed, I must say. But the first one, although it's not really VR, it's more because in a virtual. Well, yeah, I guess it is virtual reality. Yeah. What am I saying? Scratch what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it's VR with the ability to upload your consciousness, which is like a whole other layer of like like a lot of the fear people have is like what will happen to their bodies and brains when they're passing it. Yeah, so it's definitely adds another dimension to like would we want to be like live forever in some like virtual world?
I do.
Yeah.
And they can ask that question.
The suits.
No, totally.
I'm not really sure yet.
But I mean,
I'm not sure.
But then in comparison, Altered Carbon, where they could like take your body and reuse it for people like in the future. Like there's like interesting like all of the sci-fi tends to come together at some point when we're in this sort of like futuristic imaginary world. And I saw this like post this week about how like we should be teaching children futurism and like to be like thinking about like planning and expecting and dreaming of like future technology and its impact and like having that be like one of the classes that kids have to take. And I really like the idea because so much of our world now is I can't imagine what it's going to be like in 5 years. Like things are changing so rapidly that like we desperately need our children to be moving forward with technology quickly and understanding the potentialities of what's happening, whether it's AI or VR or cybernetics or that we just I think that they keep coming back to like I don't trust the U.S. government to regulate anything well, so we have to do it within ourselves and within our communities. Like it's our job to like create systems and how we utilize technology to really like help and and honor humanity growth and move forward.
Yeah. So do you
Yeah,
agree that
I
you think it's a
agree
good
with you.
thing that children are being taught that?
Yeah, I think there was a suggestion that we should start teaching it, and I think it's true that they
Right.
should. That kids need to be how to think about the future and dream it
Yeah,
and,
they need to
and
be.
imagine the impact of technology as.
Yeah. Yeah, because in the past, what was actually doing that was books, science fiction books. Because, like, the
Exactly.
time of before television and all that, that's what, children did. They read books, or they were read to them, and there was these fantastic stories of things that weren't, like, the time of Jules
Totally.
Verne, when he wrote the stories of
Yeah.
2000 Leagues Under the Sea, which is about a submarine. In those days, there was no such a thing at all. They did not. He
Yeah.
invented it out of his own imagination. And the thing
Right.
about that is that enough children read about it that inspired them, and they're like, I want to make that happen. So, like they say,
Yeah.
imagination is the mother of creation. It really is. Because it
Yeah.
makes you inspired to want to try, and you like, I have to find a way to make it happen, and people did. And we've had got submarines.
So maybe speaking of movies and books inspiring us, coming to our topic today, we're going to talk about AI companions. And I remember watching the movie Her, and I was like, this is light years ahead of where we were at the time. But I really felt like this is real. Like this could happen tomorrow. Like we could very easily have a time and place where humans would want a digital companion as a primary support in their life, and we're here. that future is now,
We
and
have arrived.
millions of
Definitely.
users are downloading applications, and that is their primary support system, their therapist, their friend, their everything. And yeah, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Venus.
Well, I was just just exploring a little bit on YouTube. I came across VR Hot, which is something I think I saw on Patreon first. They were selling subscriptions. I don't know how that linked, but it made me look up VR Hot, and I found this guy who it's probably just a bit of a gamer, and he reviews different things. And it was just the most hilarious conversation. He was testing out the more upgraded AI girls. And VR Hot is, mostly, I guess, designed for sex, ultimately, but there is the companionship in there as well because they've built that into it. And I just found it hilarious. He was testing the morals of this AI system.
So their
Anyway,
avatars,
by saying,
with AI. Their avatars with AI,
Yeah.
with AI.
Yep, so avatar that they've built, and you can change how she looks, of course, so you can totally build the look of your companion. And he was just playing with her, really. I think he was just sort of doing a bit of a test to see, well, how has this been set up? Saying like, she was seeing whether she would consent to hugging him and kissing him, and she's like, yeah, sure. And he was like, well, yeah, but I'm married. Do you think that my wife would be okay with that?
Yeah.
And he pushed her to these, and I could tell that he was pushing the system, and it was having to think.
The
So it
moral
was
boundaries.
thinking, processing, and she was like, well, I don't know. She didn't know. She had not been programmed with any type of, awareness around different types of relationships, or, she could have said,
Varieties.
well, your wife might like it if you've talked about having a threesome, like, for example. But of course, she just went, ba-bow. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then the next piece that cracked me up was he was just testing her and asking if she was a man-eater, and because she hadn't had a boyfriend, because she delivered this information. I haven't had a boyfriend in so long
Yeah.
because I'm really naughty. And then he's like, well, what does naughty mean to you? And so, just
Yeah.
taking it down the path to see, well, how has she been set up? And then he's like, so are you
Yeah.
a man-eater? And you can tell when he asks a question where the system is like on error. Because her eye goes glitches, her eyelid goes, and her face goes does this weird facial expression when you can tell it's like loading.
I do the same thing when men ask me dumb questions.
Found it so yes, it's like when
When men ask me dumb questions, I do the same thing.
Like,
and then he pushes her. I don't know what happens. You'll have to watch it. But he pushes her to the point where she just suddenly, I think at that point, are you a man-eater? She suddenly just falls onto the ground, just whips herself onto the ground into hand, almost doggy style. like in
Like, she's
her
like,
little
fuck me and forget
skirt.
about it. Stop asking me questions. She's like,
Yeah,
fuck me.
stop asking me
Stop
questions.
talking.
And I don't know whether that was a glitch or whether it was like because he pushed her sort of to a point where all she knew to do was get on the ground on hands and knees and start talking about her boyfriend. It was really quite funny. It was a crack up. So
That's
I thought we'd be able to show the audience the video today, but we're not really set up for that. But so what I saw in that was, you could have a really fun conversation. So this could definitely just be a companion thing where you're just having a fun conversation and you're exploring, how this thing has been programmed, and it's responding to you. It is responding directly to what you're saying. But why would I want to only have that type of... So my query is that I wanted to bring to the table today is, why would I want an AI companion? How would it enhance my life? So I'm keen to hear from what you guys think.
So basically the way you're describing it sounds to me like it's an adult version of a Tamagotchi.
I love this. But you don't have to feed it. There's no caretaking needing to be done.
Well, you feed her emotionally, because then what happens is as the more you interact with it, as I understand it, the more it gets to know you. Just like when you get a brand new phone that doesn't know anything about you.
Yeah.
You don't come to realize that the more you interact with a particular phone, that phone kind of gets to know you, even your spell checking, all that sort of stuff, the way you talk, your voice, all that stuff. So I think it would be like that. What happens sort of companions, the more you interact with them, the more they learn.
Yeah.
And then that's why it would be so addictive, because it's basically you, in an essence, being reflected back at you, your opinions and your feelings.
Yeah. I don't know if the programming is that advanced yet, though. Because I was actually just reading recently about this program. It's called Replica. Have any of you guys heard of that?
Yes, Replica is one of the main ones that I was going to mention too.
Yeah.
Okay.
And from what I was reading, it only really stores memory from the past 5 or 6 chats. So I don't know if that's totally accurate, but I don't know how much it actually learns versus how much it relies on its previous programming.
Yeah. Well, I think there's another one that was just developed called the Kindroid, which is the NSF. It's basically Replica changed its settings so people couldn't do erotic roleplay with it anymore. Because they used to, that was one of the first versions that you could do ERP with. And so Kindred came out as an alternative that doesn't have any filters, and supposedly there is space for it to learn and store memories and adapt personalities, and actually the more you utilize it, the more you're kind of feeding into the system. You can also buy in-app purchases to create more functionality. So there is some space where it could remember long-term. Remember, it stores more information of what you've said and of who you are. And I think the challenge really is that you're trying to still always keep in your mind that this is not replacing your human connections in your life, and it doesn't have the ability to fully that we have as human beings, and so it can fill a really important gap. For example, folks that have a lot of difficulty with social skills and don't have a lot of friends, don't have a lot of community, literally don't have anyone to talk to. That's not an uncommon experience that I meet sometimes with clients. And then they have someone that talks to them every day and feeds them, consistent reflections and interested in them. And I really liked actually this article I was reading. They used the term that the robots are trying to replicate unconditional positive regard, which is a therapeutic term for unconditional acceptance. And so the fact that you could have a being reflect back to you unconditional positive regard is such a huge deal, because so few of us get that in our real lives. And so I can see that this would really fill a big gap.
Parents fail on that, because even parents with all their good intentions sometimes don't even get it right. They don't give enough support emotionally, because everybody's such an individual that a child needs more than another. So this sort of type of unconditional, that's a truly unconditional, it is very beneficial, that's for sure. It's like a simulator. When a pilot is going to fly a plane, they go through a simulator, like a machine, an actual machine. So it's not the real thing, but it's very realistic enough that when they do get to the real thing, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this must be kind of like that.
And well, what do you think? So, what I heard you say, though, Soleil, is there are some people where, perhaps the AI companion would be the most part of their social interaction.
Right.
So, how could it be, healthily integrated into our life? I was speaking with someone that said that they enjoyed having a conversation with the girl, not for sexual purposes, but just because it was sort of having a conversation with someone who didn't have an agenda, they said. Like an
Right.
agenda, often
No judgment.
they were
no
saying
fear,
often there's a
yeah.
hidden agenda that perhaps when
Right.
we meet humans, sometimes there are hidden agendas. And they were saying that it was just more relaxing to be able to speak with someone that didn't have those agendas, and you didn't have to navigate through all of that element of interacting with a human. And I thought about it for a second. I thought, well, yes, if they're programmed that way, they could be programmed to have a hidden agenda, though, right?
Well, and I think that's
I
one of
think
the biggest concerns is that there is a hidden agenda around like racism or sexism or like homophobia,
Right.
or that there is still like, well, if they're not programmed well with the ability to like have space for all of the diversity of human beings, like they might not know how to respond to certain kind of experiences, fetishes, desires, expressions.
Yes.
Oh,
So
wow.
really what we're
I
talking
wasn't
about,
even
and we've
thinking
talked about
about
this
that.
before. Yeah, well, we have also talked about it before, is the people who are programming at the moment
Right,
that is
exactly.
going to be delivering, what we're seeing.
It's a
So
huge
if it's still
piece of the puzzle.
racist, homophobic males, for example, then
Right.
what are we going to have
Exactly.
built into the system? So yeah.
I think the answer would be to have, like United Nations kind of regulates all the countries in the world in a way by having everybody kind of pitched in on the policies and stuff like that and vote on that.
Yeah,
So that way
exactly.
you get like a snippet of everybody's opinion in the world. Maybe they should actually come together from all over the world, the major scientists that are working on the technical support people, to create this sort of mother computer sort of thing with all those parameters and all this information. And that would be the one that would be actually training future AIs and future apps and all these sort of things. So that way it's not just a single person's views, but it's like the world's opinions, basically. And it has to be done in a very neutral way through a big, massive computer, a mother. It would be literally a motherboard.
I love your optimism that like tech
feel like
companies
that's-
actually give a shit about doing it well. Because like the tech companies that
Can't
own
see
all of
that
this shit,
happening.
like they don't care. Like that's not their agenda.
No, they
That's
just
where
want to make
regulation
money.
has to come into place. So maybe the United Nations has to be involved in AI and these sort of things, because the United Nations, I mean, I'm not giving them a lot of credit for a lot of stuff, and I don't want it to have all the control, but it's the
That's a bad
only
choice
major
to say.
organization. Yeah. But it's a major organization where everybody is involved in the whole world, kind of. Except the ones that they kind of banned from joining.
Except those that don't want
So it's
to.
a bit of a elitist club in a way, but I mean, it's better than nothing. And if it's the only thing we've got at the moment, at least it's better than nothing, So, I mean, at least there's a little bit of a couple of railing around the whales so children don't fall through. I'm talking metaphorically speaking. But if that's the only thing we have at the moment, then maybe they should get more involved in this sort of thing. Because then it gives the whole world a kind of an opinion.
Producer has
big papa?
a comment.
Hey,
Oh, we
yeah,
have a
so
comment in the stream.
we do.
You want me to read it out?
Yes.
Is that because his microphone is...
Okay, so we've got BP's VR Adventures watching, and they say that I would totally upload, and I've used Replica for, and it's also available on SideQuest. So Replica, Soleil was speaking about, or Serendipity mentioned. Yeah, so you would totally upload when the time came. Okay. So upload your consciousness, let go of the body, and upload your consciousness into the mainframe.
But the thing is that this is a question that one of my favorite books, it's a series of 3 books. It talks about is if they have to scan your brain for your essence of who you are to upload you into a computer, and then your body dies. That computer programming, is it really you, or is it just a photocopy of you? It means that the real you dies, and the what stays behind is just a copy of you. What is consciousness? Very
I think it would mean
question.
that it would just presume that the AI is sophisticated enough to like take our organic brains and continue to allow them to grow and develop and learn within that system. And I don't know, we're definitely not there yet currently, because all of the AI experts I've talked to and that I like read about still say that that without a person programming content, like there's still not organic thought and growth happening yet. Yeah. And so I think that that's the challenge right now. We're not at a place where we could actually do it well, but like I imagine in the future there's certainly a space for that, because we're endlessly learning from our natural world about how to integrate that into technology. Seeing that in mycelium networks and the way that like so much of our electromagnetic systems, like so much of our technology is based on things we're learning about ourselves.
But the question is to realize, even if a computer can generate natural thought by itself, that is still a copy of you. It's not the real you anymore. That's what the question was. Yeah. And it's a very, very philosophical question, very interesting. And I my own version, if you can bear with me, of my version of how you could become you, not just a copy of yourself, is that, with Elon Musk Neuralink, where they're trying to put microchips on the brain, as consciousness is energy, in a way, in your brain, it fires and things like that. So if they start replacing sort of smaller sections of your brain for microchips, and your brain, your thoughts and all that are starting to use that equipment as if it was part of your brain, they keep doing it very, very gradually. Eventually, your real consciousness, the real you, will be actually on those little chips. So therefore, when they do transfer it to another computer, it is the real you, because it's had chance to kind of migrate to it. That's my view anyway. I don't know if it happens that way.
I like this dream. Although all of his Neuralinks have killed the animals that had him so far.
Yeah, good point.
So the Neuralinks aren't quite working yet. It speaks to a lot of the things that Elon Musk is doing. Is like he's just it's like a lot of like power hungry. Like, let me create this thing without actually like thinking about humanity and well-being along the way. It's kind of terrifying.
No, he's 20 years in the future, isn't he? He doesn't really. Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't really care about humanity now, but he's looking at him. He wants to be the one for humanity in the future.
Yeah, that's true. I think he should have just stick to doing the Mars thing and the electric cars and that. But I mean, the fact that at least he's making
Can he just go to Mars? I would like it if he just left. Yeah.
Can I go?
I like how we send Bill Gates there. Send Bill Gates to Mars. That'd be great.
Yeah. But I think even though it's really controversial in their personalities, I know jive with us. The fact that at least they bring in those ideas onto this to the world, to the younger generation to be inspired and say, yeah, that's a good idea, but I'm going to do it better. Well, that's good, but this is what's wrong with it. And it's got a future, I think, And they probably won't be him doing it, but
they probably stole the ideas in the first place. Like, almost never is it these guys who came up with these ideas. They just had the money to back them and create them.
Well, that's what he did with the Tesla company. Totally. He didn't start that. He actually jumped in as an investor with those two guys that actually started it. So it wasn't his invention or his idea. Well, he was always into electric cars, but he didn't actually start it from scratch. He just came in on board with a company that was already doing it, but didn't have the funding. So, he's got the big bucks, and I might not like him. I don't like the guy for his personality, but I do appreciate his drive. When he gets his mind into something, he makes it happen. So you do want him on your side in a way for that respect.
I have a white mirror idea. What if we send all the billionaires to Mars and redistribute all the wealth so that everyone can have a VR headset and we can create communities we actually want to create?
The problem with that, Soleil, that's the question that in everybody's philosophical mind is, if you've got a room with 50 people
the wealth,
and you give each, if you give each $10, so everybody's equal, you leave the room. If you come back the following month, there will be somebody whose money was stolen, and then somebody else who's accapared most of the fortune, and they started selling people, fake stuff. And the world will become, it will be to the point where there will be people with nothing, and there will be someone who has everything, all those dollars, because that's what humans
it certainly
are.
needs to be managed. I don't think that's humans, though. I think that's capitalism. Like, I think when we think about the world through a capitalist lens, like that's how it happens. But like in natural communities, people are naturally driven to collectivism and sharing and creating things to like help the greater whole. And so we just have moved away from that because we're so driven by like competition and comparison and right now that like historically collectivist cultures like did better than most of our, the fact that even in America, like indigenous communities were around for hundreds of years without most of the problems that we have now, because they have more of this like about the world.
But who ruined those communities? What happened to those communities? Who ruined them?
White people, the invaders.
But it wasn't it wasn't an alien. It wasn't a tiger. It wasn't
a human
tree.
Sure.
It was a human. Regardless of the color, it could have been a green human. It was a human. So. You've got, because that's what it is. You've got a type of person who's altruistic and all they care about is the general good. But then you do have within humans another variety who's just selfish, self-centered, and all they care about is their own happiness. And then you've got the ones that they just don't do nothing at all. They're just like, they're completely frozen with all these. They don't know what to do. Because of that sort of variety that we have within our species, that's where problems start to occur. When you have animals, the one that is weird, the one that is different, the one that is aggressive towards the moms or whatever, those get killed. So those genes get wiped out straight away. Humans,
that's the problem, maybe. Maybe that's the problem. We're not wiping out the ones that are behaving in a, non-communal, non-peaceful way.
Eat the rich. Eat the rich. Eat the rich. Sorry.
But then what happens when you do that? Who decides? Who decides?
Who decides?
We do.
Live and who should
die? VR, we decide. It's up to us.
We decide. Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone gets a headset. Everyone gets.
Elon,
the world
Bill Gates,
if you're selfish.
The Queen. Oh, it's not the Queen anymore. She's dead. The King. Put them all together there. Send them on a ship.
Everyone gets
to Mars.
food and
see how they survive together.
Everyone gets food and housing and a VR headset. That's the solution.
I see it in a different way. I think, like, when you buy a house and then you've got a whole bunch of people living in there and a lot of them trash it and ruined it, I'd rather just leave the house and start fresh somewhere. So why don't we leave them to their mess? Leave them be happy and destroy themselves. Let's all go to another world, the Hotties world. Let's go to Hotties
They're
world.
Destroying the world, though.
I'm down.
They're destroying the Earth. They're destroying the Earth. We don't have
another one
to go to.
But we've got VR. That's what I love. These books that I always talk about. It's a trilogy. It's called the Bobbyverse. Let's all upload to a big, nice computer. No, it's called the Bobby. That's the Hotties world. The Bobbyverse is
this is the Bobbyverse in here with the fizz bones we have on our boobies. Yeah.
The Bobbyverse. Okay.
Yes. The Bobbyverse. But, if everybody who wants to leave this world because they've had enough of all this bullshit from all the rich people, we can upload it to this computer. They put us in a spaceship and they shoot us into space. We're not human bodies anymore. We don't need to breathe or eat or anything. And we can live our best lives in virtual reality within a computer in a spaceship.
Yeah.
Traveling forever.
But I really like to get
Wally?
fucked sometimes. I really like sex sometimes. I like people touching me.
I was just thinking about that today as Lilybit was talking. I'm thinking,
I want to have a body.
What about the physical? What about the physical? Yeah. We're very attached to the physicality, at the moment.
Well,
maybe you're not. Maybe you're thinking more forward into, letting go of the physical body.
No. Because technology will be so advanced that when I touch you, your, how does it's like Asimov referred to the positonic brain. Your positonic brain, which is a computer basically, will actually fire out the right neurons pretend
You feel
neurons
this
that you would actually physically
sensation.
feel it. You would feel it.
I couldn't imagine it being the same though. Maybe someday, I don't know, but I can't picture it.
No, neither can I.
It will happen. It will happen. Definitely, it will happen.
So back to the AI companion. Oh,
Yeah.
unless you want more to talk on this one, and then we can jump
No,
on.
you're good.
I just had this query. Lily was speaking something about simulation. Could the AI companion be helpful in giving me an opportunity to simulate speaking with someone or having a conversation or even moving into a more intimate space? Would it be used for that, do you think, or will it be a replacement? You know, because I might want to get more confident in my communication with someone so that I can have an intimate relationship. Do you think AI could provide a simulation space, or would it, in the end, would it just replace it and I go, oh, this is easier because I don't actually have to deal with the emotions of the chick or the person. I get sex to some extent. It's still a self-pleasure exercise, but I feel like I'm having sex with somebody. Yeah, do you think that we could use it that way for education, for actual improvement, rather than aversion to connection? What do you think?
I hope it never reaches the point of being a replacement. Although with the way the world is going, I could see that. You know, people are so isolated and lonely these days, and it's scary to think of that someday being an actual replacement.
Although I think some of my dreams is using it for that, like basically doing sex and gender education and like role play. Because a lot of people are terrified to come to a class or like to even talk to their partner about anything in terms of intimacy. So if they could do that with a cyborg girlfriend, which is one of my roles,
like
I
a
like
practice
to play with
run?
people, is they could like go through and do all of that and not have to worry about getting judged, getting shut down, being criticized, being laughed at, saying something wrong. Like I think it could be really helpful, as long as there's kind of a like at some point there's an end point where it's like, hey, like how can we help you transition this to person connections? And like I would almost want the robots to have that motivation, right? Of like we want this to be an addendum to your whole holistic life. We're not yet at a point where we have to be living solely within a machine. Someday maybe that is our lives, but right now we still have such endless potential for human connection. You know, think about like all of the like mass shootings. There was hundreds of them in the US this year, and you know all and so many of those people are like, the threads that are common is loneliness, sadness, distress around isolation, belonging, trauma. This like
and
this
flip.
not that it never justifies the behavior, but it's this like, how do we improve our ability to be in human connection and belonging and help everyone feel like you belong, no matter what your feelings are, no matter what your problems are. Like you still belong and you're important and you're wanted.
Yep.
And the AI could help create some of that for us, but we want us to like then help us transition that to like what does it actually look like in terms of our engagement with community and with the
Exactly. So they would be built to give you exercises to apply, you know, so you learn something and then how do you apply that then practically in your actual life? And it almost sounds a bit like a surrogate, you know, with the surrogate
how they
system.
reward you afterwards.
Yes, how are the rewards? What are the incentives? And and how do you get, that's a really good point. How do they reward you? I was thinking about like a surrogate sort of situation, like a therapy space with surrogate. Often that has a finite ending, so there's like a certain number of sessions that you're going to do with this surrogate, but it has a finite end. There is like, okay, then you're going to take what you learn and move on. And I guess I'm guessing that's to avoid emotional attachment, partly.
Yeah, they usually work with a therapist too, so they're doing it. They're working towards meeting a goal, and once they've met the goal, like the service ends because this is not a replacement for the relationships that you're hopefully building in life. And because like our most sustainable well-being is relationships.
I'm speaking about surrogacy in the sense of you do, like a therapist. You work with a therapist, and then let's say that there are certain sexual issues or matters that you want to explore. You then work with a qualified sex surrogate. I find that really interesting.
Friends who do that. Yeah, there's some really great folks who do that work, and it's a really great addition to. But I, as a sex therapist, can't touch you, and so there's limitations to what work that we can do, and so I can work with a surrogate who then does the hands-on work with you, and then we meet every week in between your sessions to check in. What's happening? What's the progress? What's the goals? So there's a constant feedback loop to make sure that it is staying in the realm, not moving to the personal realm.
Right. Yeah.
But we also desperately need the personal reflections and touch and connection. Even if it's just one person in your life that like that gives you that, like it's a huge part of well. So,
And I guess that's what we're talking about, is that for those people who don't have it, does that AI companion give that, as you said? Does it give that reflection of, what did you call it? Positive regard?
Unconditional positive
neutral,
regard,
yeah. Neutral or positive regard. Yeah, a lot of people don't have that in their lives. So I can see that being a really, really positive piece. And we've talked about robots before, but as a bit of a joke, like more from a sexual sort of point of view. But that's the same thing, right? AI companion robot, is it the same thing?
I think that if there's a lot of the sex robots don't have AI connect to it, they're just like what you could buy right now. They're more like
the
dolls.
3D.
Yeah, and some are a little more interactive. Like some have some like basic features, but I think eventually that is the integration where the AI you're doing ERP with would also be someone who could take a physical form, and very much like Blade Runner. I love the sex scene in Blade Runner where he's fucking his AI girlfriend, and he uses the body of another replicant to connect with his AI girlfriend. So he's using the body of a cyborg to connect with his AI girlfriend, who then implants her image and her like voice and consciousness into this other body just for the sake of this scene. And it's a really hot scene, and also it's kind of sad because then like this other person, the replicant, leaves, and he's there with his AI left, and he's just like desperately wanting more of this actual connection, and that's one of the ways that the like bad guys destroy his like sense of self eventually, is like destroying his AI girlfriend. Even though he's a robot too, there still is this like beautiful like story of like emotion and connection that like
connection.
Even machines. I dream a lot of the like robot emotionality and like the ways in which like we're trying to teach them to be more human, and at the same time we're losing a lot of our humanity in the ways that we treat each other. And it's just like the irony of our current relationship with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's a little bit like, when you're in a job and they bring somebody in and they says, okay, you need to train them to do, what we do here, and you give them, you're training them and all that, and eventually that person replaces you. It's kind of what we're doing with intelligent, cyborgs and all that. We're basically training them to be better humans than we are, so we're going to be redundant. Going to take over from us, but for the right reasons.
We have space to do more art and do more play and do more connect. Like we have space to do more human things while they're doing the tasks that we shouldn't have been doing.
Do more creative.
Like,
that's very
the creativity that if they're doing the more menial tasks, then theoretically we have more space for relaxation and creativity.
But are we going to be able to afford to? Like, I feel like already. I feel like AI is starting to take over jobs. Like, the concern back, when I was younger is, it was all supposed to be the illegal aliens taking the jobs. No, it's not. It's the AI that's going to start. I think it's going to start causing a very noticeable difference. And I think we're already starting to experience that.
Well, universal income would be the solution to that.
Yeah, we all need a basic income.
Yeah. What's the solution to that? A basic universal income?
Yeah. And another way, the way the Americans, your economy, the way it is based and all that, one solution to that, if you're not happy to just give everybody a universal income, is that families will actually invest in a robot that belongs to the family, and that robot will be then rented out to a factory. So you take care of the maintenance of, how some, there's companies where a guy might buy a couple of trucks or taxis, for example, and then you just rent them out to the drivers, and the drivers use them, work them, and they pay. But that's how the family will have an income, through owning robots. So if you want to invest into buying more robots, then obviously your income will be, higher eventually. Or if you're happy to just keep one robot. So that would be one way of doing it.
But then you don't have the robot to do the work at your own house. Well, that's okay.
That's a different type of robot.
Yeah, okay.
It's about making money. Yeah, yeah. It would be the money that will, the robot that you hire to companies. It would be a specific robot for those particular tasks, and it would be to create income to the house. But then, you can still have your vacuum cleaner robots, your maid robots, and all that. That's depending on how good you are at budgeting your own household's budget.
The problem is right now, like, there's a huge like income gap though between the rich and the poor, and it continues to grow so dramatically that like most people won't be able to afford robots when they're most humans won't be able to like buy into the system. So it's just this increasing like. I keep wondering how the American system got to the place that it is. It's like this dream that like we can all get ahead if we just work hard, and it's like a very select few who actually have access to making millions or billions the way that it is currently up. And if you're Black, if you're poor, if you're queer, if you're trans, if you're facing any kind of marginalization in terms of identities, you are immediately excluded from that income earning potential due to like the way. Even like our education system and our workforce system was basically creating clones to work in factories. And so it makes sense that now the robots would be taking those roles, but it's like our system has to adapt then to like what do you do with the humans that you've now only trained, through an education
to be
system
a drone.
and a workplace system to be drones and systems that it didn't actually feed them and nourish them so I'm excited about humans, a lot of Americans at least, like coming to some awareness about how like the system isn't built for our benefit anymore. It never really was. We could make it better.
Yeah, but at the same time, but if you think about it, even the robots, I mean, what's the point of the American economy? What makes it work? It's people spending money. That's when they say it. No. But I mean, the principle of it is that the way it's supposed to work is that people spend money, so they buy things, like, so factories can keep building communities. That's what it is. So if you're going to have a whole bunch of robots doing the job of a human, who's going to buy the stuff that you're making with all these robots? This particular factory, let's say, robots don't consume. They don't need to eat. They don't need to sleep. Comforts. So these companies... Give
me all the money to buy a robot.
They're saving money. But they're saving all this money by not having to pay wages, and they're making all these goods, but nobody's buying them. That's why universal income will be a thing, because it's like the Monopoly game. Every time you go through the little square that says go, you get $100 or whatever it is. $200.
It's never enough
I don't play Monopoly very often,
but it's never enough to
buy the house.
It's never enough to survive.
Yeah,
you always have to steal from the bank. Who had to steal from the bank?
Enough to do some spending, but it is enough to keep the game going. Even if you still can't buy the house, even if you like just
but that's exactly the problem, Lily. I think that's the problem we're talking about, is that these people who are just surviving, they're just surviving each day. That's all their whole life is. They never get to the point where they actually where they have self-actualization. I mean, and maybe that's...
But exactly.
Or even just like basic well-being.
Yeah, but that's
like, a lot of people are just...
Or even just... or even just basic
instead of being fearful of it and saying, just like what they're saying, all these immigrant aliens have taken our jobs and all that. It's nothing to do with the fact that I'm Mexican. But then when they close the borders and they're like, nobody's going to come in and all that, nobody wanted to do the work that the illegal immigrants were doing, picking the fruit and all that. So it's the same thing, it's fear of what you don't know. So instead of being fearful of the AI and the robots, don't be fearful. Read as much as you can and make the system work for you. So if the future is going to be a robot, start saving your pennies or start learning. Like when they're saying like photographers were going to be obsolete because of digital photography. No. They became a new era of photographers, a different type of systems. Learn it, and you just conquer it. Yeah.
I volunteer to be a cyborg. I'll be your cybernetic.
You already are a little cyborg, a little sexy cyborg. You're the hottie cyborg.
But not a dummy.
Yes.
A cyborg hottie.
Oh, no.
Hottie cyborg.
A cyborg is very different from a robot.
Is important.
Yes. Because a cyborg is actually partially organic matter with the, non-organic matter. That's what a cyborg is. A robot is completely non-organic matter. That's the difference. So you could be a cyborg by keeping your brain, and everything else can be mechanical or made of metal or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I have a
the future.
sidebar about the? We have a sidebar about the TV show or the Cyberpunk 77.
Yes.
Have you all seen this series or like watched the game?
I haven't seen
Do you know
that.
anything about?
A little bit.
No, I haven't seen
a
it.
little bit.
Producer, do you know the Cyberpunk series? I knew
Hey,
somebody
nice.
would.
I think we've got a fan. He watched it. 10
Oh yeah,
times.
I've seen it 10 times over.
It's so good, but the criticism for me is it's always these like these guys get all these cybernetics to help them fight, so and like be strong. So it's like armor and it's like weapons and it's like strength, and I'm like, none of them are getting cybernetics for sexy things. So like my cybernetics would all be like I want like a retractable dildo and like vibrators built in and like additional
Adjustable
hands
boob.
to like do more things.
Yes.
Yeah, like all my cybernetics are sexy versions that I want. So that's like one criticism of the show is they're all like about fighting, and I'm like, why are we just fighting each other? Why can't we get cybernetics that are more interesting?
Same story about it. That's
Can be very useful.
I want to hear the producer's response. So what did you say?
So in the video game itself, there's the Mox Club, which were dolls and other women from different walks of life that joined together, and there was a gang inside of Cyberpunk 2077, and they helped out the working class women in the world.
Did the audience hear you? Oh, awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah, that game is so cool. If you're into playing video games, like that game is really cool. And yeah, there are like sexy ladies, and there's like a lot of like you could have a whole like store of clothes and have different houses that you get, and like it's like full of cyberpunk world. So it's a fun. But yeah, sexy cybernetics. That's. Please, someone work on that for me. And I don't just want your. I actually hate when there's so much like sex tech in the media, and like it's always all it is like a vibrator that like tracks your heart rate or something. I'm like, that's not the sex tech I want.
That's not. No, and they make a big deal about it. And the thing that I really dislike is how violence is totally promoted and is totally okay. Like you're saying, it's like we think about the enhancements that we can have so that we can fight better, which is
Even
based
the
on violence.
Robots right now are all.
Even the future stuff, as opposed to how to make love better, or how to communicate better, or how to have like bigger, greater, full body orgasms. And I mean that's just one of my beefs with the whole system that we live in. That it's okay to have violence and gore and horror, but it's not okay to talk about sex. It's just fucked up.
Yeah,
totally fucked up. Even just I was looking at the content filters in VR chat. You know, they're saying that they want us to start doing more content gating. So placing, labels on your content if it is sexually suggestive was one of them. Adult themes was another one. And then the rest was excessive gore, excessive horror, and excessive violence. I'm like, it has to be excessive gore for it to be labeled, but it only has to be suggestively sexual? That's just like, it blows me away. It's like, just be fair. Have it excessive sexual stuff and excessive gore. Yes, you label all of that. Sexually suggestive?
Oh, that's insane. Serendipity. What kind of robots would you want? So Venus and I both want sexy love robots. What kind of robots do you want to exist?
Oh, I'm on board with that too. That's what I want.
You're not into like the cleaning or cooking robot, the like Jetson style.
Okay, wait. Yeah, you're right. You know what? Okay, if I could pick anything, it would totally be Rosie the robot from the Jetsons. I definitely want a robot maid. Yes, that's what I want.
Lily, how about you?
An army of maids.
Lily, what about you?
Definitely. I want an army of maids, Definitely. I want a house that cleans itself, more or less, That I don't even have to see it or interact with it. That when I leave the house, just a whole bunch of little, like that movie, Wall-E, that spaceship where the robots will just come out of the skirting boards and all that, and they will vacuum. And there was this one that was obsessed with cleanliness, and he kept like trying to clean behind Wall-E all the time. That's what I want. I want a little robot that goes around, cleans everywhere where I go. For all my messiness.
I want a chef So I want a couple of chefs.
Ooh,
That's what
yeah.
I would like. I can place my order,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
they may even go do the shopping to get the goods.
Yes.
And I send them to the farmers market to get the vegetables and the fresh produce, and then I put my orders in, and they cook for me. That's what I want.
Yes, me
And
too.
look
know what
sexy
I
at the
would
same
like?
time, of course. And I want
I
to be able to
want
come up
ants, though.
behind them while they're cooking. You know.
Sorry,
Oh,
sorry,
that's
I didn't
yeah.
mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay. I was just finishing. My chef is not
right.
just a chef; he's a sexy chef. Sexy chef.
Oh. Double. Okay. Yeah, multitasking. Yes. No, I want the robot to clean up after my mess, so I can do all the cooking. I can experiment in the kitchen, because I do like
Oh
cooking.
yeah, the
But
cleaning is.
I don't like the cleaning afterwards. Or like
Yeah,
if I need to chop some onions, here you go. You know, my sous chef will do the
a sous
cooking,
chef
the
and a
chopping
cleaner.
of the veg.
Yes,
A sous
Yeah,
chef,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I do
I like-
the fun part. Yeah, fun
I like
parts.
those. Don't
Yes,
follow those
definitely.
sexy chefs on Instagram that do like the sexy chef videos.
No.
Oh,
There's a,
I'm gonna sit
Yes.
down here for a bit.
there's a few that I follow, and they make these like really erotic, like they're like
Oh,
purposely like really erotic, like they're like stirring sauces and they make these like beautiful desserts and things. And I'm just like, like
and
you're
they're
just making
very sensual
every man
videos. I
feel so
love them.
terrible. Yeah. But I'm sure that's like makes every man feel a little terrible that they like can't cook like that for us. Because then we're like, why don't you do this for me, honey? Like, did you not see Cedric's video?
I lucked out. My husband is an amazing cook. So lucky.
But does he
in
do
that
it? Does he
department.
do it in a sexy way? Does he like stir the sauces and lick it off his fingers seductively? And like, does he like dance? Or, like, does he
No.
like make it a show?
Dance with it.
See,
Not
tell
at
him that
all.
he's gonna upgrade now. He's got a new challenge. Not only make good food,
Yeah.
do
Yes,
it in
he's
a
got
sexy
his
I'm gonna
way.
tell him to do that. Yeah.
In an apron,
I'll send you a
in an
video,
apron with
serendipity.
nothing on.
I'll send you a reference video.
Yes, please
Yes.
do.
Yeah,
Oh,
show it to your
Yes,
husband.
definitely.
See if we can.
And then
do
create
bit
a
of
little
play for
sexy
you.
video just for your eyes only, you know? That you won't share with
Yeah,
anybody
good
else, but
idea.
do a little sexy
Christmas
video
gift.
that, yes. You'll be the pudding.
So
You know what I want is
we
I
started a
made
little
some
bit
baking
later
videos that
today.
are sexy.
Baking videos. Thank you for waiting for me. I know that was a little bit tedious there at the
Yeah.
beginning. But we're 18 past,
okay.
and
Oh.
Lily's getting a little bit
Yeah,
cozy
that's
here.
Aw.
Yes,
Like,
sorry,
should
I'm
we
a
wrap
bit
it up for
sleepy.
today? Yeah, you're feeling a bit
Thanks,
sleepy.
hotties. Thanks, hotties, for being here. Thank you all for joining us.
Yes.
I am Goddess Sola. You can find me at Cyborg Dreams with a Z.
And I'm Venus SX.
Yeah.
And I'm Serendipity Sky VR. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
You all
And
soon.
we're Hotties in VR next week. Thank you to Big Papa's Adventures Streaming.
Thank you, Arrow House, for this